Start the podcast. All right. Well, that was a nightmare, was it not? Let's just jump right into it. Start out by introducing my guests today. We got three people who suffered through that. I don't know what it was. It was a lot of anti-gun talk, a lot of anti-liberty talk. Let's just get to it. Rico, welcome. I haven't seen you in a week, 3 days, 4 days? I don't know.
Been too long, Odie. It's been too long. The real hero of my weekend, John Odermatt, for waking up at 9 a.m. and driving 3 hours to an airport.
You know, somebody's got to do it.
The guts and grits on that man. We'll sing songs of you in 100 years.
You guys could barely even drive in the car. You were struggling to even stay upright. And
that is fact, yes.
Of course, we're talking about the trip from Porkfest to the Boston airport, which is the worst drive in the world, in case you're wondering, if anyone wants to try it out. But let's move on to our next guest, Tricia Stuart. Welcome.
Hello.
Is this your first time on Lions of Liberty? Or?
It is.
It is. Wow. Yeah. Fantastic. I can't believe Mark hasn't had you on yet.
Yeah, he sucks.
He does suck.
Fact.
We can just bash Mark. That's if we want to do that.
Right. Well, okay.
Least favorite characteristic of Mark Claire. Go.
Okay. The fact that he hasn't had me on, maybe. I don't know.
I was looking for something more personal.
Okay. No, he's a cool dude.
I just wanted to leave Remso hanging as long as possible. Remso, welcome back to Lions of Liberty.
John, thank you. And during that time, I thought multiple times, why didn't I jump into a bathtub and throw a toaster in it? Because at the end of the debate is this beautiful, end of the rainbow. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, I actually did. I missed their closing statements because I was getting set up. So did I miss anything?
John. No, John.
No.
Because America missed.
No, actually, no. I lied. I did hear one closing statement. Eric, is it Swalwell? Is that how you say his name? Who, by the way,
say it with me. Swalwell.
Swalwell.
He's a terrible person. Wow. I can't stand his face.
You know who he looks like? Do you remember Workaholics? You ever see that show?
Yeah.
He looks like Durs if he had a bad facelift. That's what I was.
I knew I recognized him from something, but that's what it was. What did he say? He said, I might be normally changing diapers.
Yeah.
But I can change America.
He's like, but I'm changing Washington. And let me tell you, Washington smells worse than diapers.
Washington is America's diaper.
That's true.
Fuck.
But anyway, so that was the closing statements. I missed them, but let's just do a quick around the room here. I don't know if you guys can find it in you, but actually, before we do that, what's everybody drinking? Are you guys drinking?
Yes, of course.
What do you have, Tricia?
Well, I'm a lady, so I'm drinking Sauvignon Blanc.
Ah, very classy.
Yes.
Very classy.
I'm a classy lady.
I'm drinking some Oberon. Nice summer beer.
What is that?
Russian.
Oh, okay.
It's made by Bells. Is it Russian?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's made in Michigan.
They're hacking our beer. They're interfering with our beer selections.
Michigan's basically Russia, so. Rico, you drinking anything?
I'm drinking a Dogfish Head Session Sour. I got the taste of it, a hankering from the weekend. So
I'm very sorry, Rico.
Why? You don't like sours?
No.
Oh, they're delicious.
Sours are delicious.
Okay.
I actually thought I hated sours until I tried one, but they're actually pretty good.
Yeah. Yes. You should give it another chance.
Mm-hmm.
Remso, are you sober? Are you on heroin? What's going on?
I am 3 weeks sober and loving it.
Really? Because that wasn't very convincing.
I'm a fucking alcoholic. What do you want from me?
Okay, fine.
I'm suffering so much right now.
Good.
I just want to die.
Yes.
So much.
Remso is a writer. He's rolling out a book. Of course he's an alcoholic. You have to be.
Yes.
So now that we got that out of the way.
Humanity is pain. Watching all 2 hours of this was pain.
Yeah. So do you feel more human?
No.
Fuck.
Do you feel less human?
Yes.
I think we could have cut it off after an hour and nothing was said in the last hour.
Mhm.
I think we got the gist of every candidate, and every candidate was, I have a plan for that, and we need government to do this, regardless of the words they actually spoke. That was the basic effect. Of
I was wondering if they could talk a little bit more about being against children in cages, because that is such a bold stance.
I was unclear.
They could have come out against slavery and rape, and I just don't know. I mean, how big are their hearts? It's hard to tell.
I want to tell you that they hate all bad things. So I've learned that. Yeah. It's very brave. It really is.
Very brave.
I just want to ask everyone this. Before tonight, did anyone know that Marianne Williamson was an actual human being?
Nope.
I've never heard of her name before, but I pray that she gets to fight Donald Trump on a battlefield armed with only love, because that will be amazing. That was in her closing statement, Odie, if you didn't.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's pretty good. Armed with love.
Yeah.
She practiced that in front of a mirror like 30 times. I guarantee you.
I had an English teacher that used to get stoned during class, and I'm pretty sure that might actually be her.
During class?
During class.
Sweet.
I went to a very progressive high school.
That's a bold play right there.
She had to go turn into a radical Christian, Remso? Progressive high school?
Absolutely.
So Marianne Williamson, I didn't even know what she looked like. I didn't know anything about her. Was it my imagination, or did they not ask her a question for the first 45 minutes? And I was like, I've seen this woman on the end of the stage. I'm like, what is she like? Are they going to ask her something? Who is
I
she?
thought she wandered on at one point when she popped up. I'm like, whoa, who? Why'd they let her on?
Doesn't it have to be embarrassing, because there was a few candidates that didn't get invited to either of the debates, and they had to watch that and be like, what? She's pulling 0.0001%, and she got an invite.
I actually kind of enjoyed her a little bit. I thought she was a little spicy.
SNL's gonna love her this week.
Yes.
Yeah, so I mean, might as well stay on old Marianne there, talking about the most libertarian moment of the debate, which is pretty damn hard to pull out. But I think it was the first question she was asked, first or second. The first one I paid attention to, at least. They were talking about healthcare. Everyone's talking about their different ways for universal healthcare. I'm going to do Medicare for all. I'm going to do Obamacare plus whatever. I'm going to, let you have your private healthcare, but still have Medicare for all. And she comes in, and she's going down that road, and she kind of got off to a slow start. And she's saying, well, these are superficial options you're talking about. And then she really got to the heart of it and started talking about, no one's talking about the real cause, the real problems we have in this country. Why is everybody sick? Why do we have so many sick people? She started hitting some of those topics that are actually causing it. I thought that was the most libertarian moment of the debate.
Yeah, fluoride in the water.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Making them fucking frogs gay.
Yeah, all those vaccines that are killing everybody everywhere.
Yeah. I think that was one of the most libertarian moments. But who was it that said tariffs or taxes?
Andrew Yang.
Yeah, that's what I put down. I don't remember that.
One of the 3 times he actually spoke.
I know. What the fuck? He was so base, but that was his one bright point, and he didn't even do it well. How very sad.
He replaced his button with an American flag pin and lost all his powers.
I know.
He came across as the annoyed teenager. He's like, do I really have to do this debate? Obviously it's simple math. I give you each $1,000. It's better. You got it right?
He was standing with his hands in his pockets, which you don't
beta.
often see that.
Beta. Yep.
He wasn't wearing a tie either. MSNBC actually complained about that.
I actually didn't even notice that.
That's
How woke are you?
He was there.
That's because you're sober.
You see? It's like my Joe Rogan third eye is just popping, noticing those things.
Yeah.
So you guys both thought that tariffs, not taxes. Remso, did you have one too? A different one or same one or anything?
It was that one. I mean, it was all here's the thing. I get I get kind of upset when people stretch terms, and the biggest thing I hate when they stretch is, oh, this is a libertarian moment. I remember back in 2016, someone actually wrote an article. It didn't go too far, but I do remember it actually existing. Somebody said that Mike Huckabee had one of the biggest libertarian moments of the night because he actually criticized the Federal Reserve. Like criticizing little things, bringing up little things that we might talk about. I mean, hearing it, it's like, oh, wow, they're not complete communists. But
They are.
I mean, it's just like I feel like this is the unified dumbing down of America. We're so used to just hearing them say these completely totalitarian things. At the moment they even give us like a crumb, a smidgeling of like sanity, we jump and we're like, oh, this is libertarian. This is really nice. I think we're just so enamored with statism that we will just stretch that term. So I don't even like really saying something was explicitly libertarian.
I don't think it was, like if I had to I'm only saying that because that was one of the categories listed. And so you have to search for nuggets. It's not like I think anyone thought, oh my God, he's a libertarian. It's like, well, I guess that's the least non-completely statist thing that's been said. That was kind of my.
I mean, if anything, it's Hickenlooper because he brought up that he legalized marijuana in Colorado. Like it's just all those little things. It's just I've gotten I see this online. I see this when I run around DC. Like today, I saw two teenagers arguing about a Medicaid for all banner they stuck on a bus stop wall, and it's like we're stretching these terms. We're just things are going to get bad. Things are going to get so bad, we're going to be like, well, they didn't explicitly say they're going to abolish private property, so therefore that was a libertarian stance. I think this is the beginning of a bad road for things further, especially as they have to like out-commie each other.
I was trying to think. Oh, go ahead.
No, so I would say to that point, I think that sometimes the diagnosis is decent, maybe on the left, but the solution is so not decent, and then we jump to that, like I think Bernie, like I agree with you. I think Bernie actually made a lot of very valid points. Yes.
It's almost always spot on when it comes to addressing the problems, except his solutions make everything in fact itself much worse.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and that's one of the biggest parts, the hugest faults on the left would be sometimes they do, maybe just out of their pure hatred for Trump, diagnose a problem that's actually a real problem. Somebody was talking about crony capitalism a little bit during the debate, which I found interesting, but then it just devolved into government solutions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think who was that? I think that was that Gillibrand talking about crony capitalism?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She was talking about capitalism versus greed. She brought up the NRA somehow. I don't know how that factored in there, but
she definitely led the debate in butting in and every question and talking over people.
Yeah.
Did anyone see what Michael Malice tweeted about her?
No.
No, what?
He said that she's America's ex-wife.
She is.
She is.
I actually really, really dislike her. I've already divorced her.
I thought Hillary Clinton was America's ex-wife. No?
No. She's a skeleton in the closet.
So I was thinking during this debate, I'm like, is Hillary Clinton a more preferable candidate to any one of these people?
Oh my God! Wow!
You just made everything more miserable than
she would have been the most libertarian candidate on that.
She may have been.
She might have been. Well, it was like I think of like all the times they were like, raise your hand if you want every person who comes to this country illegally to have free health care, and everyone's like raising their hand. Joe Biden's looking around like, hey, yeah.
Did you see Joe Biden like kind of raise his hand a bunch? He's like,
he did one of these a lot, and then he got called out, which was one of the best. That was probably the most entertaining.
Which time?
There was like three. I know.
Vice President Biden, did you raise your hand?
It's like, Joe, were you waving at me, or is that a hand raise? It's hard to.
Or was he getting ready to do this?
I feel bad for Biden because most of the time when they would do the split screen between a candidate yelling at him, most of the time Biden would look at them like, who the hell are you?
Yeah.
Who are you people?
There was a great glare by Buttigieg to Swalwell after he's like, you should have just fired him. And, and then he moved. He was like, he was pissed.
You're talking about Buttigieg back to Swalwell?
Yeah, like Swalwell said, well, you should have fired the chief of police. And Like,
Can we address how many times Joe Biden got called out on the Obama administration and how entertaining that was? That was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Obama
he
doesn't
was
get
the only one. He kept going back to it, though. It was his crutch. I mean, he kept going back to Obama. And, I mean, that's at the end of the day, that's not going to help him. I mean, that's because Obama, I mean, even to Democrats today, they're realizing that Obama was not as great as they think.
Well, I mean, towards the end, at one point, he almost screamed out, "I am Barack Obama!" Like he was really struggling to try and get people to fall back in love with him. But
ripping his shirt open and yes.
You want to end up like Bin Laden? Do you? I didn't want him dead to begin with, but we won't talk about that.
So Kamala hates Biden. Like they're serious.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Oh, that was
For
amazing.
sure.
Yeah.
I like the response.
He was given like the talk to the hand, Joe. You know, like it was that was.
He didn't come back at her enough on this point, but when she was hammering him about kind of like the civil rights, he's like, "Well, I was a public defender. You were a prosecutor." He should have really gone into that. Like, you put this many people in jail for these offenses. You sent this many people to death row. I mean, I wish he would have just gone further into.
Well, his brain can't handle that. It's.
That's too much objectiveness.
Yeah.
Too much objectiveness.
I have a question for each of you, and I want to go down John, Tricia, Rico.
30 seconds only.
2 words. You get 2 words.
Is it worse to infer that someone is a racist or segregationist?
Racist.
Racist for sure.
Well, racist encapsulates
Same
a
thing. Yeah, it's a.
I almost feel like the whole segregationist tie to Biden, I almost feel like they're really trying to step it up because they're like, you could be racist, you could be like Trump, but you're a segregationist. Like the whole busing issue. The only reason, and I think a lot of people are going to be kind of lost on that because, well, that is a part of civil rights history. Like I spent the last 7 months writing a narrative biography of George Wallace. And I just recently found out about the whole Brown v. Board of Education busing scandal between 69 and 72. So to say, I think it really hurt him because one, you're saying segregation. That like really makes a lot of people flinch. Secondly, you're also reminding people that he was a working adult during the 1968 Indianapolis riots after MLK was killed. So not only is he old as shit, but now he's also a de facto segregationist.
And so is that like that segregation is like the
literal act of separating people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but it's so ridiculous. So ridiculous to tie him to racism. It's just such a losing argument. You're going to tie a guy who was the vice president of the first black president and tie him to racism? Like,
well, that's how far left everything has gone. It's insane. Like his answer wasn't absurd. It's like, look, I wanted there to be local control over certain issues, which I mean, as of like 5 years ago was a reasonable thought for many issues. But now it's like, nope, the federal government. And someone actually told him on a hypothetical question, it's like, well, you're the government. Like apparently the president is the government.
Well, holy shit.
Yeah. It's just a king. Just a king now.
Thank you for your term limited monarch.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I think that's funny because the whole time we moved this window so far to the left and this was on full on display, and racism is the crucible of this. So it was basically Kamala and Joe trying to figure out who was the least racist, which was really funny because obviously she's a woman of color. And so she thought she had that on him, but then he was also a vice president of the first black president. So it was kind of like a death battle. It was very interesting.
Is the number of years he's in government, has been in government, going to hurt him? It seems like he would be the front runner if he never had any. Well, I guess he's a front runner because people know who he is, but he's going to be hurt because he has such a legislative record.
Let's let this sink in. The first time he ever ran for president was 1988.
Holy shit.
1988.
And he still has the same amount of hair.
He ran against Ron Paul, right? Wasn't Ron Paul running as Libertarian in 88?
Libertarian in 88. It was so the final was Bush, Dukakis, and my gosh, Michael Dukakis is so much more of a better choice than any of these people.
I miss Michael Dukakis. Not really. It's fine.
But yeah, I mean, he's been in office so long. I mean, I think for a lot of people, of course, trying to tie him to racism, segregationism. I think a lot of people at home were like, okay, that's just kind of, that's kind of BS. But for, many, especially young voters, I think tomorrow you're going to see a lot of pundits go ahead and say, Joe Biden's old as dirt. Like, people make fun of Bernie, but like, we're learning about stuff that's like, when we look at history books, it's like black and white photos and crap. Joe Biden, like as he kept talking about his references to his victories and his big moments of his career, like he kept going back and back and back and back. And to say that you were a practicing attorney in 1968, like, my God.
Yeah. and the average voter looks at that and they see got so many problems in this government, and Joe Biden's been a public servant for like their entire lifetime. Why would you elect a guy president who's been involved in this whole racket?
Right.
But like, if we can just take our libertarian goggles off for a second and just judge from the, just the normal person's perspective, whatever that means. Who do you think, I guess in the eyes of Democrats, because Republicans are going to hate them all, who do you think came off the best in this debate? Who do you think won?
I'll answer that. Kamala, for sure.
Why do you think so?
She has charisma. She speaks to people. She is somewhat intelligent, and she came out of the gate like hardcore, and she owned that stage for sure. She's a force.
Yeah, I agree. I would have said Biden too, but he had a couple of just awkward moments. He has an awkward like pause when he's answering. Sometimes it's like, is he trying to figure out an answer to the question, or is he just waiting for momentum to build in the crowd? It's kind of awkward, which like everything he does.
I'm gonna actually diverge and say Marianne Williamson, honestly, because I think a lot of people going into tonight, they already had, a kind of a predetermined favorite going in. So I don't necessarily think that any of the major candidates, Biden, Sanders, Harris, Gillibrand, really gained any new people. Whereas I do really think that everyone on stage lost a good amount of support to her, just because that woman's so freaking weird. Like, it's like watching a train wreck. It's like you want to call the cops, but you also want to watch it.
I kind of did too. I get that. I think that she was just a little bit different than everybody else. And actually, she's a good orator too.
She's the Aubrey Plaza of the Democrats. She's kind of out there, but you just want to watch.
Right.
She has a really interesting accent too. I couldn't quite tell what it was. But...
I thought it was a speech impediment.
Yeah, I actually did too.
But we're gonna fight with love.
I think I think Kamala performed very well. At the end of the day, Biden and Bernie could only lose. I think nobody's, because a lot of Democratic voters.
Everyone's stealing Bernie's shit.
Yeah, a lot. Well, I mean, that's what Bernie's all about, stealing other people's shit. So that's his own problem.
Looking across the streets like, all these people taking my crap.
I think an interesting question is, who do you think Trump thought won the debate, and will we find out when he tweets?
I wasn't done yet, Rico.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, shit.
I was going to say Buttigieg. I think that he performed fairly well, and I don't know. I just maybe it's because it's the first time I've ever heard him talk. I wasn't expecting him to, have such a commanding tone, and I didn't really agree with anything he said. But I thought he was very, very confident in the way he spoke, and he wasn't, he didn't rush through answers. Like, if you want to take like who I think performed the worst, I think Swalwell was one of the worst, if not the worst performance.
Oh yeah, he needed to go home and go to bed.
Can we talk about that pass the torch thing? Because I couldn't tell whether or not he was trying to draw first blood with Biden or try and appeal his case to be vice president.
I think he was, I don't know. He's trying to make a name for himself.
He was making mediocre ambitions for vice president. I think that's a very fair assessment.
He's from California, right? He has no chance. Why would you pick a Democrat from California to be your vice president?
Yeah, there's no reason to. You pick someone from a state that you need the swing.
Right.
So, Rico, I think you had another question that you cut me off, then I cut you off.
I was saying, who do you think Or will we find out who Trump thought won the debate by looking at his tweets and seeing who he takes pot shots at?
Yeah, that'll be interesting because is he going to want to – because I wonder who he wants to face. So he's going to –
Williamson.
Oh, well, yeah. I think the realistic candidates, he'd want to face Sanders.
You think so?
Yeah, I think Sanders is too much for most people to stomach, just like his everything is, we're going to take this, we're going to do this. Like, I don't think –
He evaded questions more than any other candidate on stage, for sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I would agree. I think Kamala Harris is the biggest threat to defeating Trump, at least right now. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, maybe he'll take shots because if he takes shots at Bernie, that's going to elevate Bernie. You know, everyone will rally around Bernie. So, I don't know. It'll be interesting to watch.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
I mean, here's my thing. Like having worked as a consultant from 2015 to 2018, you know, I look at very like obscure details about voters. And here's the thing, and this is why I know that neither Delaney, Booker, or Bernie will ever be president. Americans don't like people without hair.
This is very true.
Brian McWilliams, talking about you.
Will never be president.
Thank God.
Fellas, aesthetics matter.
Well, like seriously, and I think, you know, women have this, like, there's a strange online cult following for Buttigieg called Turn Pete Straight.
What?
It's a real thing.
Where are we going right now?
I think he's a closet. Concerned. I think he's a closet straight, and he's just pretending to be gay.
Okay, you know what? It's so freaking weird you say that, because I was joking with my girlfriend the other day. I'm like, I think Mayor Pete's actually a straight dude. And she was like, why do you say that? I'm like, it's just he doesn't make my gaydar ping.
I think he gives off a super straight vibe. I completely agree.
Maybe that's his gimmick. He picks up a lot of ladies at the bar who want to be the first one to climb that mountain.
I don't know about that. I mean, I'm a lady, and
it's a working theory. I don't know.
Okay, yeah, you need to work on that some more.
We'll workshop it a little bit more.
America will not elect a balding or bald president. It's just not going to happen.
Right.
That's why Dick Cheney could never win.
Exactly.
Yeah. He's a horrible human being.
And he's the devil, literally.
Is an indicator. He walked around for 3 years without an actual heart. Like, literally.
Still might not have one. I don't know.
No, he has one. It belonged to a child. I'm not making this up. This is all stuff. Google it.
I believe you. We got our first snort now. So.
Yes, I'm sorry.
That might be the first snort in Lions of Liberty history.
I snort. It's fine.
You're welcome, America.
Mwah.
So to move on from that, let's talk about the most statist moment from this debate. This is probably the most difficult question. Tricia, do you have an answer?
Yes, I believe somebody mentioned jailing insurance companies for not providing the service that they promised. Who was that?
Jailing insurance companies?
Yeah. No, jailing and people from insurance companies for not providing a certain service.
Oh, I don't remember taking
that. Fine. You can tell me. What was it?
I don't remember.
Yeah, that was pretty statist. So
that is extremely statist, yeah.
Yeah. Here it is. I have my notes. Put people in jail for false advertising, insurance companies and their employees. And that was Joe Biden.
Joe Biden. Oh, the old moderate Joe Biden jailing insurance company.
Yeah. So somebody from an insurance company promises something and they don't deliver, and so we will put them in jail. Yeah, that's pretty fucking crazy.
Yeah.
That was pretty statist. So
I thought the most statist, and like you said, it was very difficult to tell to make a call on this one, but Swalwell, when they were talking about
wait, say his name again.
Swalwell? No. No good.
This sounds really good.
Let's call him Durs. he said, like, when they were talking about the Second Amendment, he said these words, "We will take," and I thought just that phrasing, which definitely reflects his mentality on the authority of the federal government, just taking, we'll take the guns, and God knows there's not going to be any problem with people being having their guns confiscated, and no threat of violence there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the next thing category we have is scariest moment. So I mean, we can kind of talk about both here because they're kind of the same. But also, I think it was in that same exchange with Swalwell, where he said something about, well, we don't dress our children to go to school because
that was insane.
We want them to look nice.
Oh yeah.
We dress them to identify their bodies after mass shooting. Like, what the fuck world are you living in?
Yeah, I couldn't
anybody's
believe
doing
that.
Please get help. Please get some help.
I couldn't believe that was that. And he's like, you go to the movie theater and you look at the fire escape. I'm like, I don't think I've ever done that.
Right.
You know?
Maybe because of a fire. I don't know. Crazy.
Like, I know where the exit, but that was like such a dark mentality to have.
Kirsten Gillibrand trying to sound like she's some type of like grassroots fighter. She kept using a lot of really aggressive terminology. I'm there on the streets. We're going to fight him. We're going to go get him. We'll do it by any means necessary. She was one interruption away from saying legalize the purge.
I thought,
here's a prediction, and I'm gonna make this publicly here. You're welcome, John. By the end, once we get down to like the final 2 or 3 Democrats, one of them's going to talk about legalizing a night of just all-out crime
against Republicans.
Like, they will say, you know what? America's just really pent up and angry, hasn't read Eat, Pray, Love and all that crap. 12 hours to get all the crime you want. Murder, rape, arson, theft. Just do it in predominantly white Republican neighborhoods.
But wait, I want to say, I felt like the whole debate, they were trying to make Donald Trump a boogeyman, which Democrats are pretty good at that through, media and whatnot. But I felt like it was really disconnected, and they didn't do a really good job of making him a boogeyman. There was such a disconnection of what they were talking about and then trying to blame him. I think they did a very good job.
If anything, they made a lot of people realize Trump isn't that terrible. Like, they're trying to say he causes cancer, he's making the climate worse. Marianne Williamson, I think, is my favorite person because she was like, he's intercepting your nightmares. What the hell are you talking about?
That's why she's an author. She has these creative juices.
She needs to stop hitting the bottle.
I think she probably was stoned.
There's something right with that person.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting. It's going to be really interesting to watch if she does get a bump in the polls. Just because, just a simple fact that she got some camera time and nobody knew who the hell she was. So it'll be fun to watch.
Like, who is this
woman? She's Oprah's friend.
Oh, is she really Oprah's friend?
I don't know. Somebody said that. I'm not sure if that's true or not.
Just run with
Dr. Hills? Dr. Phils?
Just go. Yeah, right. Yeah, Dr. Phils.
So we talked about the most statist. Do you guys have a scariest moment other than the most statist moment? Anything else that stood out?
I do, John. I'm waving my hands. The fact that the buyback of assault weapons was just like this natural, like we talked about it like it was nothing, or they did. That's really creepy.
Yeah, that's just an accepted fact. There's going to be a buyback. And buyback is such a nice term for what it's actually going to be. It's going to be a forced confiscation.
Right.
Abolition of private health care. The fact that now we're actually talking about like just abolishing it.
It was all about universal health care and a mixed market.
Now, I mean, they're using the term like we're going to outright abolish it. Like 10 years ago, they were talking about, it's really funny. Joe Lieberman in 2004, 2005, I think, was the one vote in the Senate that actually prevented, single-payer health care from being passed onward. And years later, it became the Obama exchange the Obama healthcare market exchange, and now it went back to single-payer healthcare. Now it's just flat out, we're just going to abolish all private options. The fact that now we're at that point within such a short amount of time, I think is pretty terrifying.
You make a really good point, because there was the first, I think it was 40 minutes were about healthcare, and it was basically them arguing being able to keep private healthcare and then just going to a full universal system. And it was almost like the people that said let people keep private healthcare and have a mixed market system were completely crazy, and then the universal was the one that got the most applause, and that's really creepy.
The only question it seemed that they were talking about is like how quickly they can get from a mixed bag to completely government run healthcare.
Yeah.
At one point, I think Lester Holt jumped in, I think it was with Bernie, and he's like, Senator Sanders, you realize that no state has successfully been able to implement healthcare, right? That might have been the most libertarian moment, really.
That was actually, Lester actually gave some good questions, Sean. It was actually,
Actually, I'm going to give Rachel Maddow the highlight of the night, though.
Don't.
Surprisingly, it was pretty funny.
Do it.
She asked Bernie Sanders about a quote that he said, and it was about, I think, gun rights, and it was toward the end of the debate, and she read the quote, and Bernie Sanders was like, "Well, that's a mischaracterization," and she like deadpan. She's like, "It's a quote." And
yes.
It made me laugh.
Yeah.
LOL. So, yeah.
You gotta love that. Bernie hates getting quoted. He's said a lot of
He's like, my quotes mischaracterize my position.
Senator Sanders, you once said the Sandinistas were on the right side of history. I don't know them. You have a photo of you with them. It's all just a ruse.
Not a bad Bernie.
We got video of you singing with communists in Russia. Oh, God.
We're just trying to drive the conversation away from the 1%.
And
it's funny, like honestly, like in a way, I'm kind of glad that Bernie's running again, because
pure comedy.
Well, I mean, there's that, but this upcoming October is officially 5 years with my girlfriend, and the first night I met her was on Halloween 2015, and I was dressed up as Bernie Sanders.
Oh shit.
So in a way, we get to go through this nightmare together again.
She's obviously not a libertarian if she was attracted to a Bernie Sanders costume.
No, but I was the funniest person there, because I was the only one at Liberty University to have the balls to dress up as Bernie.
Oh no, you like Jerry Falwell?
Like is a very loose term.
Okay. Yeah. I might go off into a tangent, but I don't want to take over John's show. Jerry Falwell is the biggest piece of shit.
Did you see that
piece
Babylon
of garbage?
Did you see that Babylon Bee blog that came out today of Jerry Falwell kicking a Mexican kid? Get out of God's country.
I'm going to look at it now.
I'll send it to you. It was pure magic. Pure magic.
Oh Lord. Were you a neocon then?
No.
Oh.
So
disappointed.
Oh, I'm so sad now.
Remso has been a libertarian since, I've known Remso since you were like 20 years old, or like younger than that, probably.
I was 19 and I'm 24 now.
Yeah, you were active in libertarian politics back then.
Yeah.
John
was there at my birth, basically.
I've known Remso forever.
Did he deliver you?
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna put him in front of the laptop and turn on Paul versus Giuliani.
Sweet.
This will convert him. Yeah. This converts all the babies to libertarianism.
Yes, that should be a required thing.
I'm all for it.
Okay, sweet.
So
look at me classing this up.
Is that still your first glass?
Of course.
Seems like every time you pick it up, there's more in it. Is somebody pouring more, like behind the scenes?
Yes, actually. It's fine.
Out of the
candidates. Are we going
candidates.
to talk about Andrew Yang yet?
Let's talk about him.
Oh my God, how fucking horrible was he? He was cardboard, breaded with cardboard with more cardboard.
Apparently, he's the most libertarian Democratic candidate that I've. I don't know what article it was I saw or meme I saw, but it was like,
yeah, I remember that.
It was trashing every Democratic candidate except for Bernie Sanders, and it called Andrew Yang a closet libertarian. That's what's.
Do people have any idea what a libertarian is? It's not giving everyone $1,000 a month. Why is there no follow-up questions like why 1,000?
Right. He's a cardboardtarian.
He does have like he'll come back like they'll ask him a follow-up question. And he'll come back with a detailed answer and give like percentages, like, well, you give $1,000 a month to everybody, and then the top 94% are raised up out of this level. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? You have no idea what you're talking about, man. You're just making.
He's just pulling numbers from everywhere. It sounds fancy because he's Asian.
Here's
It's true.
Mm-hmm. You know it.
You know, coming from half my family, which is Korean.
Please don't pull the race card on us.
Usually when they pull out numbers, I just give up. But here's the thing: like I've been Andrew Yang's been around DC and Virginia quite a bit the last couple months.
That's right. You went to one of his rallies, right?
I went to one of his rallies. I've been writing about him for the American Conservative, Ann's Magazine, Free the People, Advocates for Self-Government. Like I've covered a lot of him because I just think he's interesting. People have said, said that I'm like on the Yang gang and stuff like that. John and I discussed this. Like I'm pretty agnostic when it comes to UBI, so that caught my attention about him.
Are you? Wait! Back that train up.
Oh, this is gonna happen right now.
Oh shit!
You want to fight?
Lay it down.
Come on.
Lay it down. UBI. That's not fucking even close to libertarianism.
I never said it was.
But you said you were agnostic towards it.
Yeah,
you were agnostic.
Because
you should be atheist towards it. You should be atheist as that motherfucking shit.
You know what? I say stuff like, I don't believe in an anarchist society and people get
I do.
Really, it's just not going to happen. UBI is not going to happen because at the end of the day, they're all utopian concepts. But the thing about Andrew Yang is that ultimately, this is a guy who actually goes and he talks to people on the right. He's been on Ben Shapiro's show. He's been on Rogan, if you want to classify Rogan, kind of that sphere.
I do think he is more intelligent. He just has no charisma.
But the refreshing thing about him is that he hasn't completely like blacklisted people who aren't progressive from the conversation, and he's been willing to go on the record about things. He was at LibertyCon.
Was he?
Yeah, and it was very strange.
How is he Liberty?
Lance Sykow interviewed him from being libertarian.
Yeah, and it was it was a good interview. Like, here's the thing, like. And having worked around a lot of politicians, like even though he's never run for office before, and people think, oh, he's so relatable and stuff, like he's a very good politician because he'll go from one place to another and he'll say exactly what the host wants to hear. And a lot of people don't really monitor candidates to see how they are because typically, for a lot of folks, they're just going to go, for example, Democrats are just going to go MSNBC, CNN. They're not going on. Andrew Yang, if he went on Fox News, he would be called the most Christian-like conservative Democrat running. But then he'll go on CNN and say that Fox News is basically ISIS. Like, he's very good at doing that, which is why, he's got a lot of people tricked.
But that actually makes one of the worst people.
Yeah, that's the scary thing about him, though. So you have things like UBI, which are, I've called it the best, worst, best policy out there because it gives you everything you want and everything you don't like.
That's a political slogan right there.
It is. Like,
Remso Martinez, you trickster.
Like, it's just one of those things where it's like, it's circular flow. It's really good. It's really good. It's really bad. It's really bad. It's really good. It's really good. It's really bad. Because at the end of the day, like all utopian concepts, what they require is a more perfect people than the world that we live in now for these perfect solutions.
Right. Which is why a free market system and a voluntary system is the best.
Which is why.
Perfect.
Yeah. Which
it's
is
not
why.
Utopia.
Yeah, which is why when you hear like Hickenlooper and Yang, I'm sorry, not Yang, Hickenlooper and Buttigieg, and for the record, I had no clue who Bennett was. At one point, I actually got him confused with Hickenlooper.
Yawn.
I thought they were, but at least they went out there and said, you can't just eliminate all private health insurers. You can't do that.
I did appreciate that too, and I understood that. The problem was that people, especially Democrats, because like I was talking about tonight, watching this debate was really strange for me because I was a neocon, and so I fought liberal ideology for so many years that I just kind of let go of it because it's such low-hanging fruit to me. So to watch this was a really surreal experience for me because it just is so stupid. I would rather fight a conservative on war state or the police state. But I did appreciate that they were talking about, okay, what's the practicality of eliminating private healthcare versus universal healthcare? But that doesn't matter because if you're not charismatic enough to gain the populace as a Democrat, being reasonable means nothing.
Like for a lot of people, hearing Sanders just blatantly say abolish private insurers, like here's the thing, even though people
there was nothing behind it. There was nothing behind it.
Even though people might like the sentiment, they don't like being told what to do. They want to have the option, even if they don't want the option. They always want it either way, which is what a lot of Bernie bros might not say. But it's what's going on there. It's like, you know what? What if I want it? Why is he going to take it from me? What if? And that what if factor is what's going to kill him.
And the truth is, a lot of middle class to upper middle class Democrats who understand what's going on around the world. They understand in Canada, you try to see your doctor, you have to wait for 30 days or 2 months. You try to go to the hospital over in the UK. You're in a room with 6 to 8 people. These things get around. And not everybody is not all these Democrats are for universal health care. They don't want this system.
Right.
I think they're really missing the mark on this one.
John, who was it that brought up the fact that the populace in Canada is quite different than the United States? And so to translate universal health care in Canada to the United States versus the population here, who was that?
Could have been. I don't know.
That was Hickenlooper.
Hickenlooper? That's a really good point.
Well, like, here's the weird thing. Like, I've been to Quebec enough times. Like, you still have private practices. You still have private practices. If the Canadian healthcare system is so good, why are people going for private physicians?
Or why are they coming here for care?
Exactly.
Right. Rico, what do you think?
About what? Anything?
Healthcare?
Canada?
Canada?
Well, I did want to go to Montreal this weekend, but that's another story. So Kamala's story about the people going to the ER and then sitting in the parking lot and worrying because their kid has a fever. It's like,
that was
understand what would happen if you made treatment basically free, how much of an overload there would be on the system of people. Oh, I heard my baby cough. I'm going to the emergency room. Yeah. Oh, now there's a 5,000 person wait because everyone's going to the ER with a kid with a cough. It is like the supply and demand dynamic doesn't apply with anything. How are you getting enough doctors? That never asked. And then Gillibrand at one point said with the immigration, well, we're going to have enough judges to have these hearings instantaneously, and every person claiming asylum is going to have a lawyer. And I'm thinking, oh, really? So you're just going to mandate lawyers take the cases, and how are you paying them? And nothing ever is asked follow-up. So
you bring up something that I remember from very early on in the debate. It was when somebody asked Harris how she was going to pay for things, and she basically avoided the question. Surprised you didn't do it in Spanish, but I mean, she was basically like, I don't need to explain shit.
Yeah, well, it was. She was like, who the fuck cares?
Yeah.
We're going to do it, and you're going to like it.
Yeah. Did one of the moderators ask one of the candidates a question in Spanish? Who was that? Was that Buttigieg?
Yeah, I think so.
At the very beginning.
How weird was that?
That was very strange.
They coordinated that. No, like $10. They coordinated that.
Yeah,
we just got a comment. We got a comment here on the Zoom. We got Davey Martinez watching. He says he worked in Montreal for 2 months, and they all hate the healthcare. They say people abuse the system, and it takes like 6 months to see a doctor. So there you go, America. Wake up. From Davey Martinez.
My cousin.
That's Remso's
Davey.
cousin. Yeah.
6 degrees of Martinez.
Every Martinez is related. It's a fact.
There used to be a joke my first year in the Army. I was in a predominantly Puerto Rican platoon, so the joke used to be you can't throw a rock in the Army without hitting a Puerto Rican. You can't throw a rock at a Martinez without him being related to me.
Martinez, are you of Puerto Rican descent?
Did you just assume my Latino hood?
I did. I fucking did.
I always thought you were black.
I did too.
Sometimes I identify as that. It's funny. Quick story. I promise I won't go on a tirade. When I was a senior in high school, I got so bored getting rejected for scholarships. I just started saying I was black on a bunch of them.
Oh gosh, yes.
The Elizabeth Warren plan.
Yeah. Should have said Native American.
I mean, these days I could probably get away with it.
Yeah, you could totally be Cherokee, like for sure.
Without a doubt, yeah.
It's like Native American. Well, I was born here, so Native, like.
Right.
All right,
This is the worst.
two last questions I want to make sure to get in here because they're going to hurt. Well, the last one's going to hurt to answer for sure. But this one's not going to hurt. So, out of all the candidates, which one do you think has the best chance to defeat Donald Trump?
I'll go first. I think Kamala Harris, for sure.
I agree. She's checking the boxes. She's a woman. She's a minority. She is from California. No, I don't know if that really matters, but
no, that's actually a negative.
She's very progressive, and like you said, she has the stage presence. She has charisma.
Emotional connection.
She seems to have enough, she had some kind of one-liner. I thought it sucked, and I forgot what it was, but it was like a scripted kind of zinger she threw in, and she's going to have that. So that's kind of
about putting was about like putting bread on the table.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's what it was. So stupid. It was like, really, people are starving. No, come on.
Oh, she got thunderous applause though.
Yeah, it was ridiculous, but it was clearly like, a line that she had planned and threw it in organically. Yeah. So I think she's definitely the biggest threat.
Yeah.
Pete Buttigieg.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I can't even talk to you anymore.
Well, he does support UBI, so.
Yeah.
Pete endorses and supports everything Pete should. Like, here's the thing. Like, Bernie Sanders is a pretty horrible person because of his terrible commie views. At least he believes them. Pete Buttigieg, when I look at candidates, I look at three things. How are they across the board in terms of cross-demographic appeal? Pete is usually in the top 90%. How is he at fundraising? Was one of the top 5 day one fundraisers when he announced of the entire Democratic field, so he can get money. And secondly, that little chiding remark that he made about the Republicans and Christians, and to an extent, like, I agree with him.
Right.
Having gone to Liberty University, I could tell you that Jesus is not a Republican, folks. I'm sorry to say that. But, like, those little remarks, people want that. People don't want a candidate that can just make sure that Democrats show up. They also want someone to demotivate Trump supporters and libertarians and everyone else from even showing up to begin with. So it's less about sometimes getting people to show up. It's more about who you get to keep home. And I think a lot of people will get confused about what they want to do, or they'll feel demoralized, especially if the polling shows one thing or another, if it's really slim. But I think Mayor Pete has that effect on people. Nicholas Vieser brought this up about 3 weeks ago on my show, and I didn't quite think about it until very recently. But tonight it really did show me that I think he is the biggest threat.
Honestly, I think it's close between the two, but because Kamala is a woman and a minority, I think
she's also a fucking cop.
Yeah.
She is.
Why?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
But America loves cops, except for.
Oh well.
It was interesting. There was a little.
John.
Yeah.
What is your censorship as far as swear words?
Use them.
So can I say fuck the police?
Well, we're going to be demonetized, but we already are. So
okay.
Sure.
Oh, you already are. Okay, so fuck the police over and over.
When you see the police, you think of safety. I believe that was a phrase used at.
Yeah, I think so.
The other day, somehow, I got a letter in the mail asking if I wanted to donate to the Police Benevolence Society.
Fuck that motherfucking
I didn't do it,
shit.
but it came with a sticker. So what I'm doing is
Put the sticker on.
I'm putting the sticker on. I'm going to never get a ticket again.
Yeah. If you could make like copies of that, you could sell that sticker, make some money.
Thank you for your service.
Okay, so last question, the hardest question of the night. It's election night. It's Donald Trump against one of these shit show candidates.
Fuck.
You're not allowed to vote for the Libertarian. You're not allowed to vote for Donald Trump. You're not allowed to vote for anybody else. You can't write yourself in. You can't write in Ron Paul. Gun to your head. Who do you vote for?
Donald Trump.
I said you can't vote for Donald Trump.
Oh, you can't? Oh.
You can't. You got to vote for one of these candidates.
Andrew Yang, because at least I get $1,000 a month. By not talking the most, that means he said the least stupid things.
You're a whore.
I'm proud of it.
All right.
You're saying what we all know. We all know Remso's a whore, Tricia. So.
Okay. I'm gonna go with Marianne, the creepy
Williams.
overlady.
Can I change my vote? I forgot.
No, you can't. No takesies backsies. No takesies backsies.
Written in stone, Remso.
She's already won love, or love has already won over
Right.
2 people here.
All right.
See?
Yes.
It's the power of love.
Right. Right.
She can play like the Back to the Future clips. Power of love. I'll go with Biden, I guess.
Oh, what the fuck is wrong with you? What the fuck, dude?
No
What are you
$1,000 for
doing?
you.
Nope.
He's, I think,
No
at
money,
least.
no love.
Well, in fairness, Joe Biden did say if he's elected, he's going to
Unfollow.
cure cancer. So Rico is coming out against cancer, everyone. He's against cancer. So right
So brave. So brave. So brave.
Well, I mean, what is the argument for anyone else, really? Who the fuck knows who Williamson or Yang? What positions do they have other than love for
No, no, no.
Williamson and $1,000 a month for Yang?
Okay.
Like,
I'm
who
going to
knows?
answer your question because they're all going to be the same person. How do we want to be entertained?
With money.
Fuck yeah. That's right.
Well, that is a good point.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and for me, my answer, Marianne Williamson, also, just because we're just coming off 4 years of Trump. We need to have another entertainer. We need to have another psychopath in there who's not going to kill us all. And if she loves everybody, she's not going to kill us, right?
Right.
I don't
If
think
I'm
so.
gonna have a term limited monarch, I'm gonna want them to entertain me, like fucking entertain me. Okay?
We'll get peace with North Korea. She'll just walk across the DMZ and put a rose in some soldier's gun. And
Yes.
You should start a Kickstarter to buy her a bicycle and a plane's ticket to Syria. See how love works.
Don't be surprised if tomorrow you see a Libertarians for Marianne Williamson page show.
her love is winning the world over already.
Right. I'm there. I'm like,
That would be
halfway there.
amazing if like she actually became a well-known candidate and she was on these different shows.
What if she becomes president?
Oh fuck.
People were saying the same thing about Trump.
That's the thing.
Mhm.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
What book is she written? I gotta go on Overdrive and see what she's the author of. I've never heard of her before.
I don't know.
She wrote like her own version of the Kama Sutra, which I'm pretty sure is just all missionary.
For real?
Yeah.
Wait, is that really?
No, make that real.
Don't want to read that book.
Her own version.
I do.
What if it's
I'm
like
a
a
missionary and intense eye contact.
Do you remember that sex book Madonna came out with like 20
Yes.
years ago and
Yes.
it had pictures of her like having sex with Vanilla Ice?
Yeah, that's really horrible.
Yeah,
Thank
but
you.
maybe
Thanks for bringing that
well,
back
you
up.
brought up Williamson and the Kama Sutra.
Rico has it on his desk
No,
right now.
Rico did.
I read it every night before I go to bed.
You read Rico's Kama Sutra?
No, I read
Okay.
Vanilla Ice's Kama Sutra.
Oh fuck, that's worse.
I have this
favorite book.
uncontrollable twitching in my left eye. I'm not even doing it on purpose. It's just like involuntary.
Oh, we
All
got to
right,
drop
I'm
camera or something.
Oh, I gotta drop. I got really excited about Rico's Kama Sutra.
I'll send you a copy.
Oh God, don't.
All right, so let's close this shit show up. Let's go around the table real quick. And Tricia, you want to go first and plug away anything you're working on? Anything you want to talk about?
Oh, no, follow me at Ginger Archie, Tricia Stuart on Facebook, Twitter, and I put most of my shows there. And so I love you all. Fuck the state, and taxation is such.
Fantastic. Remso, top that.
Remso W. Martinez across all platforms. The audiobook version of Stay Away from the Libertarians coming out August 15th. August 30th, my newest book in print and digital release, How to Succeed in Politics and Other Forms of Devil Worship. And as I announced, October 2019, the audiobook of that version will be voiced and narrated by Johnny Adams from Blast Off of Johnny Rocket. So How to Succeed in Politics and Other Forms of Devil Worship, August 30th, 2019.
Rock and roll. Rico, any closing words?
I have no plugs.
All right.
It's been a blast. I'm so glad I got to watch 2 hours of a Democratic debate and then talk about it for another hour. And I plan on doing this, well, how many, like 15 more times in the next year? So,
well, at least it's only
That's
Democrats,
horrible.
not Republicans, too. And how do we sign these things off? How does Mark do a sign off? I forget.
Mark just throws his headphones at the wall.
Jeez.
Let's do it, Bill O'Reilly. We're fucking done. We're doing it live.
Here's
It's
how
over.
I sign off. Are you ready?
Yeah, it's over. Show's over. Bye.
I didn't get to say it, John. Thanks for nothing.
What were you going to say? Go ahead. It's not over.
I say peace, love, and fuck the state.
Fuck the state.
Fuck the state.
But more importantly,
over and
peace.
over.
Peace.
Yes, I agree.
Marianne
Thanks, guys.
Williamson style.
Bye.
Yes.